All right, welcome back everybody to the VARC Solutions Bookkeeping Academy. Today we're going to be talking about something that, quite frankly, is always behind the scenes. You may or may not even notice this, but we want to talk about really the difference in QuickBooks between summary reports and detail reports. I'm going to mute. The difference between summary reports and detail reports. And really, the reason why I even bring this up as a topic is because sometimes we'll have customers that'll say, hey, I'm looking for help finding a report to show me X, okay? And obviously if there's a built-in report, great. If there's not, you might have to go looking for a report, searching for a report, maybe even creating a report, or finding a report that's close enough, maybe exporting that to Excel to do some other things to be able to get them what they're looking for. So when we start looking for reports or we're looking for specific information, one of the things that I have found is that the type of report that you're looking for, whether it's summary versus detail, has a pretty big impact on whether or not you're going to be successful finding that thing that you're looking for. And I'm not just talking about the search capability, because the search capability is great to be able to find a specific transaction, things like that. But let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll try to explain a little bit more about what I mean by that. So I am going to share a portion of my screen, which is going to be the QuickBooks online window here. Okay. All right. So right now you ought to be seeing QuickBooks Online. I'm just in the sample. I'm in the test drive. And the big picture that I want to point out first is if you just look through, if you go to the report section within QBO and you just kind of start scrolling down, you're going to see some words that are going to be consistently there. Okay. You're going to see detail and summary. Scroll on a little farther, summary and detail, summary and detail. Okay. Summary and detail. And you're going to see that trend throughout QuickBooks, summary and detail, summary and detail. And the concept that I want you to get just at a super high level is if you're trying to run a report, maybe it's a sales report, maybe it's a sales by customer report, you're going to see summary versus detail, summary versus detail, summary versus detail. And so the question is, when should you run one versus the other, and who cares? Okay. And so I just ran a sales by customer summary. I've got it up on this tab right here. And again, I'm just going to show some of the details that I think are important about that. Okay. First off, if you're running a summary report, regardless of what specific type of report it is, if it says summary in the name, you're never going to see specific transactions. Okay. You're not going to see a specific invoice or a specific bill or a specific credit card charge. A summary report is always going to give you a total, not transaction details. And so just like on a P&L, you're going to see totals, but you're not going to see the transaction details behind it unless you zoom into a specific dollar. Okay. Same thing on a sales by customer summary. I don't see transaction details. I know there's sales behind the scenes, but on a summary report, I'm only going to see the totals, maybe by customer, maybe by product, maybe by some other high-level categorization, but I'm not going to see the transactions unless I was to click on a number. Okay. And just notice when you do click on a number, and I was trying to pull up that in a detail. Okay. If I click on a number, of course, why is it not working on a demo? Always super fun. Okay.
Some of the modern reports have taken that functionality. If you scroll up, do you see a switch to classic view?
Oh, let's see.
Ew,
Yes.
did they really?
Yep.
Switch to
That's
classic view.
terrible.
So now, and you may need to change your time frame or whatever again, but now you should be able to click on those numbers. It's terrible.
Nice. This is so much fun. Yeah, why take that away? Anyways.
Yeah, that's a great function. Why take that away? Yeah.
Thank you, Angie, for saving me every time. I love it. Okay. So if I was to click on a total in classic view, thank you so much, QuickBooks. Now I'm going to look at a detail report okay, detail report, and it is going to show me transaction details. Okay, so that's a really, really important distinction. So I'm going to go back to kind of like this, the summary report, and just kind of dramatize a few more things. So if I was to run that sales by customer summary, you know, and I've got 10,280, the challenge with this one, besides classic versus whatever kind of reporting, is on the summary reports, they're less customizable. Okay. So again, let me just start from scratch, because I think that classic thing is maybe messing me up a little bit too. So let me just go run a sales by customer summary. Okay. And again, let me switch to a specific time frame like this year. Okay. And so right now I'm not in classic view. Okay. So I'm in whatever the current view is, modern view. Okay. Just noticing that I can choose the date range, things like that. When I go to display, I might want to display columns by, and there's a few options. Like I want to see columns by customer, location, product, service, or date. Okay. If I go to filter, I can only filter it so much. I can filter by customer, by location, by payment method, by product. Okay. So there's only a few options on the filtering. If I go to general options, you know, there's a few things here, but not really in terms of like as much filtering capability. Okay. So I have limited capabilities on that report. It's a good report by itself, but if I need detail or if I need more specifics, it might be better to run a sales by customer detail instead. Okay. So same thing. I just say, you know, sales by customer, but then choose the detail report. And notice it's got the detail name in the heading. But instead of total totals, what I get are transaction level details. And what's cool about the transaction detail reports, or customer detail, vendor detail, whatever detail, I've got columns that have more specific information that I might be looking for. Okay, that's important. Plus, if I go to the columns, I've got a lot more columns that I can select and add. So if I'm looking for specific information, okay, not in a summary form, but more on a transaction level detail form, I've got the ability to check the boxes for different things. And of course, if I scroll down, and again, visually, I'm going to scroll down for you. There's other columns here that I might want to add to this report. You know, so lots more options here, lots more options. And again, those may not be in the summarized, totalized type of format that you may be looking for. But of course, if you can get them on the report and then export that report to Excel, now you can maybe do some summarization there or whatever else you're trying to do. Okay. But on a detail report, you have a lot more capabilities when it comes to the columns of detail that you're wanting to get to. And maybe even more importantly, when you go to the filter, you know, you have a lot more options here as well. Okay, so you've got, I want to filter this detail report by customer, by transaction type, if I'm just looking for invoices or if I'm just looking for credit memos. Yeah, obviously numbers, service dates, account types, payment methods. I mean, there's a lot more capabilities here that might help you find what you're looking for, or at least create a report to get you what you need. And then of course, there's also grouping options here. If you wanted to group by customer, group by product, group by transaction type, those are things that you can do. Like, even though I've got a sales by customer detail, you know, I might have invoices, credit memos, lots of different things. Maybe I want to group by, you know, type instead. I might have some other reason I want to choose by product or what have you. So those are just things that you can do in a detail report that you really can't do on a summary report. And so at a high level, again, kind of going back to the primary purpose of this call, or this specific topic, is just to point out that sales by customer or any kind of summary report, you're not going to get the detail unless you're in classic mode and zoom into the totals. But if you're looking for a detail report, you're going to be able to have a lot more customization, a lot more filtering, and then export that stuff to Excel if you want to then get better summarization of that detail. So that is really the kind of concepts that I wanted to get across today. Let me stop sharing for a moment and just see if we have any questions. And Leslie, I think you had a question. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's not really a question, Brad. You can, in fact, zoom in the modern version. It could be a glitch with the sample file. But
Like
as you were speaking, I was in and out of several files going back and forth, and you can, in fact, zoom. That would have been incredibly brainless on the part of Intuit to take that away.
So you mean consistent with?
Yes, but I'm saying that anyway,
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to say is that you can, in fact, zoom in using the modern format.
There you go.
You can try it in another file and you'll see it'll work.
Yeah, perfect. And I did just try that here. I just reloaded the screen, and
Yeah.
so that's probably why it worked before I started recording. And there you go. So reload the page, or if that doesn't work,
Clear your cache.
clear your class, switch to classic mode if you need to. Thank you, Leslie. So perfect. Awesome. Any other comments on that specific topic from anybody in the room?
None here. Good stuff as always.
All right. Anybody else? All right.